fans, and welcome to Boom and Gloom, the Columbus Blue Jackets podcast where I discuss the boom and the gloom, or the good and the bad of CBJ hockey. My name is Anthony, and I call myself North America's longest suffering hockey fan. Been a Jackets fan since their inception, a Hartford Whalers fan before that. I have seen my favorite NHL team get past the first round of the playoffs exactly one time in my life. And I turned 50 years old in a few months. That's a long time to suffer. And I don't think there is anyone in North America who can match my level of pain. I mean, and when I say that, I'm talking about hockey specifically, because all you fans out there who are also fans of the Browns and the Reds, I don't know how you do it. But as for hockey, if we're talking about hockey alone, I am definitively North America's longest suffering fan. Also had my favorite team ripped away and moved to another state. My favorite AHL team folded and never returned. And my alma mater, Miami University, they lost the national championship after being up 3-1 in the last minute of the championship game. So yeah, I know hockey pain, believe me. And if you're new around here, welcome. Thanks for giving me a shot. Returning listeners, thank you so much for your support. I appreciate you tuning in. Lots to talk about today. In case I sound different, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my last episode. We are doing some home renovations. I am not in my usual home office environment. We just installed some new hardwood floors in our house, and I'm in a big echoey room right now. So if I sound different, that is why. I was actually holding off on this episode because I was waiting for Adam Fantilli to sign. But that has not happened yet. But you know what? Since I'm recording this right now, that usually means the Jackets will do something newsworthy in the next day or two. So be prepared. Most likely it's coming. But I wanted to start off today by talking about Zach Werenski. If you are listening to this podcast, then you are most likely an avid Jackets fan and are well aware of the situation with him and everything that has transpired in the last month or so. But indulge me, okay? Quick recap. Rumors began swirling that Zach no longer wanted to play in Columbus, and the Jackets were seeking a trade. A trade was actually made with the Dallas Stars. But Werenski invoked his no-trade clause benefit, and he vetoed the trade. And then it came out that he only wanted to be traded to Tampa Bay or Toronto. Jackets fans, including myself, quickly turned on the man. It appeared he was taking the same route as Brady Tkachuk, forcing his way to either a contender or to play with his buddy Austin Matthews. I was ticked. If this was all about winning, why would Zach want to go to Toronto and not a contender like Dallas? So it made no sense to me. It appeared that he just decided he was not happy playing for Columbus any longer. And then, soon after that, it seemed that Kirill Marchenko wanted out of Columbus too. But I'll get to that. I'll get to that situation in a bit. I want to finish up this whole Werenski fiasco. Well, after all the fan backlash, and there was a ton of it, statements came out from both Don Waddell and Werenski. The media had blown everything out of proportion, Zach said. Okay, and he said that he wants to stay and win in Columbus, at least for now. But I, along with many other fans out there, think that this was nothing but damage control. As the old saying goes, where there's smoke, there's fire. Why did Waddell even seek out a trade then? He is a Norris Trophy winning defenseman. He is your team's best player. I would imagine Waddell would want to do everything possible to keep him. Unless Zach indicated he wanted out. And when all these rumors started surfacing, where was Zach's statement about the media blowing it out of proportion then? He waited until all this happened, until there was a vetoed trade. So here's what I think happened. Zach Werenski made it known to Don Waddell that he has no intention of sticking around after his current contract expires, which I believe is 2 seasons from now. Don realized that having just won the Norris, and with teams having so much more extra cap space than usual due to the rising cap, Werenski's value was never going to be higher. So he decided he might as well act now and make a trade. And so he did. He found what rumors suggest to be a great trade with Dallas. One that sent Zach to a contending team and also sets up the Jackets for some future success. But Zach told Don that he didn't want to go to Dallas. He preferred staying in the East. In fact, he really wanted to go to one of 2 teams, Tampa or Toronto. Now, Don Waddell may or may not have tried to initiate trade talks with those 2 teams, but ultimately, and wisely, he determined that there was no trade available that would bring equal value back to the Jackets. There was no one on Tampa or Toronto that they were willing to part with that would make sense for the Jackets. And they didn't want draft picks in return. So Don told Zach, look, Zach, there are just no viable trades right now with those 2 teams. So you have 2 choices. You can accept it. You can accept a trade to a team other than those 2 you have identified, or you can keep playing for the Blue Jackets. Zach decided to keep playing for the Blue Jackets. But now there was a problem. He just ticked off an entire fan base. And he thought about playing on Nationwide Arena's ice. And the prospect of doing so while getting booed mercilessly by Jackets fans. That would suck for a player, I'm sure. He may have even thought about what it might do to the locker room if everyone, all his teammates knew he wanted out. Which makes me think, all right, would Charlie Coyle have even signed here if he knew that Zach wanted to be traded? Was this, a well-kept secret from other players? I don't know. But it potentially would have been a lot of drama that Zach didn't want to deal with. Oh, and the media. He'd have to deal with questions about his desire to leave Columbus all season long. Not an enjoyable prospect. So what did he do? He and Don hatched a little plan. Blame the media for blowing it out of proportion. Profess his love for Columbus and his desire to be a Jacket and win as a Jacket. Damage control. That's what I think happened. I can't prove it, of course, but where there is smoke, there is fire. Don Waddell doesn't just, out of the blue, decide to trade his best player. There had to be something behind it. So Zach can say all he wants about wanting to be a Blue Jacket and win as a Blue Jacket, but I'm not buying it. As I have mentioned in previous episodes of this podcast, I actually think trading Zach Werenski could benefit the Jackets. I think it might be a good thing. As it stands now, I mean, let's admit it. The Jackets are still years away from being true Stanley Cup contenders. So trade him for an absolute haul and build your defense around Denton Mateychuk with Jackson Smith coming in, as a promising prospect in a few years. Therefore, here's what I think needs to happen now. Zach starts the season with the Jackets and perhaps plays the whole season. But either at the deadline this coming season, if the Jackets are out of contention, or next summer when his full no movement clause becomes I think it's a 10-team no trade clause, you trade him. It is time. Especially with the Jackets presumably being pressed for cap space. Darn you Flyers. I'll get to that. You trade him for a haul. And I honestly, truly believe the Jackets will be just fine without him. Maybe, just maybe, in a better situation with the return that they get. I mean, they proved that they can win without him this past season. I think Zach missed like 7 or 8 games, and out of those games, the Jackets only lost one of them. Now, do I want the Jackets to trade away a Norris Trophy defenseman? Their best player? Arguably the greatest player in team history? No, I would rather not. But considering the circumstances, I think it would be in the best interest of everyone going forward. It was truly one of the darkest days in franchise history for the fan base this summer. And that's saying a lot considering what we have endured the past 26 years. Because as the Jackets were drafting Oscar Hemming with the 14th overall pick in the draft, Kevin Weeks announced on live TV that Kirill Marchenko did not intend to sign an extension to remain in Columbus when his contract expires next summer. Outrage ensued. First of all, I have to say, I think it was a little crappy of Kevin Weeks to announce it the way he did. This was Oscar Hemming's moment, and the spotlight was shifted instantly. Fans were not talking about Hemming. They were talking about Marchenko. Hemming was virtually forgotten for the moment. That's unfair to the kid, if you ask me. But anyway, it happened, and now we fans had to deal with the fallout. First, Werenski, our best defenseman, and now Marchenko, our top goal scorer for the past 2, possibly 3 seasons. I can't remember. He's been the leading goal scorer the last 2 for sure. My thought at the moment was, can't we have anything nice? As Blue Jackets fans, can't we just have something nice? And this Marchenko situation actually hit me harder than Werenski. Because Marchenko has been one of the most likable players in franchise history. The dude is just, he's so personable and funny. I mean, he's downright hilarious. I love the guy. But now, he has brought a dark cloud upon him. And as it stands now, it does look like Marchenko will not be traded, and he will be with the team this season. Not sure how the fans will react. You know, do they boo him? Or do they continue to cheer him, hoping he will possibly change his mind? Or I don't know, maybe fans will be like, if he's a Jacket, I don't care. I'm cheering for him. As long as he's a Blue Jacket, I'm going to cheer for all Blue Jackets. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I will be interested to see where that goes. It's important to note that Marchenko will be an RFA, not a UFA, after this coming season. So the Jackets will retain his rights. So that's good news, I guess, because at least he can't walk away for nothing. But if he refuses to sign an extension, then I'm sorry, Don Waddell or whoever is the GM next summer, because if it was up to me, I would be firing Don Waddell, but I will get to that later. But whoever's here as GM will have to trade him. And I'm sure he will get a fairly decent return considering his offensive numbers. So I have to ask, what the heck? All right. Is Johnny Gaudreau going to be the only star player to ever want to play here? I just don't understand it. Actually, that's a lie. I do understand it, okay? Columbus is an amazing city. It is a hidden gem. Look at all the former players who decided to make their home here after their playing career was over. Tootin, Atkinson, Modine, Dubinsky, Castles, even Nick Foligno built a house here and plans to move back here after he retires. And that's just to name a few that came to me off the top of my head. Columbus is awesome. So it's not the city. It's not the city that sucks. It's the team. It's the team that sucks. They have sucked for much or most of their existence. And players want two things. They want to win, and they want to be paid to do it. The Jackets have never been shy about being willing to pay. All right? The ownership has opened their wallets. But the team is not a consistent winner. And I firmly believe that is the biggest problem right now. If this team was in the playoffs every season, or have been in the playoffs for the last several years, competing for a Stanley Cup, I bet we wouldn't hear a peep out of Werenski or Marchenko wanting to move somewhere else. Winning fixes everything. But that, as we all know, has eluded this franchise for the better part of a quarter century. Now let's talk about what the Jackets did do this summer. Probably the biggest news in terms of acquisitions was that they traded 3 draft picks to Colorado to acquire 31-year-old Valeri Nichushkin. He's a 3-time 20-goal scorer, but if you look at his stats, he has never eclipsed 53 points in a season. That's been his high, 53 points, as a 31-year-old. Not exactly an earth-shattering move, if you ask me. I see it as a straight-up replacement for Mason Marchment, who signed with the Sharks. And not to go off topic here, but that means the Jackets essentially gave up several draft picks and Igor Chinnikov for a few months of Mason Marchment. That's poor asset management, if you ask me. But back to Nichushkin, I have heard several others describe him as an upgrade from Mason Marchment. So, like, he's better than Mason Marchment. We should be happy. We upgraded. But I don't buy that yet. Nichushkin is going to have to win me over in that regard. Because I really liked Marchment, and I thought he was a really good fit for the team. Like I even went as far as saying I thought he was more important to sign than Charlie Coyle. Again, though, that's why I'm here talking to you on a fan podcast and not serving on an NHL team's front office staff. All right? Maybe they know more than me. But then maybe they should have more than just one playoff series win in the last 26 years. Anyway, the plan is to use Nichushkin in the top 6, but I personally don't see him as a top-line player. I see him more as a second-line, possibly third-line player, at least on a good team. And I've also read that he's had some off-ice issues, but I'm not going to dwell on that, and I'm going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt moving forward. He's a big guy with a rough and tumble side, which I like, just like Marchment. But in my opinion, this trade for him, did not move the needle for the Jackets. Acquiring another aging middle 6 forward is not what this team needed to take the next step. Another acquisition via free agency was 31-year-old. See my little pattern here? Again, 31-year-old. Ryan Lomberg. Lomberg was with the Flames the last few seasons and notably fought Matthew Olivier in a game last season. So if you haven't seen that, check it out. It's on YouTube somewhere. Didn't go well for Lomberg. He's 5'9", and he plays a feisty energy game. I'll give him that. But if you look at his offensive stats, they are less than impressive, to say the least. The Jackets did not sign him for his offense. They signed him for his energy. He will be playing no higher than the 4th line unless there are a rash of injuries. And speaking of which, Isaac Lundstrom was reported to have ruptured his Achilles tendon and may not play at all this season. And actually, I shouldn't say that. Reports are indicating he is hoping to return by December, but I think that's incredibly optimistic considering the type of injury it is. So that leaves a spot for Lomberg on the 4th line. I have to say I was not happy at all with this signing. I felt like the Jackets should be looking at someone like James Malatesta to fill the role that they signed Lomberg to fill. I mean, why is Don Waddell, why does he keep adding 30-year-old players to this roster instead of going younger and giving some of the prospects a chance? I mean, where does this put Luca Del Belbaluz? With Lundstrom out, does that put him as the 4th line center? And if so, I think that's a misuse of his skill level. His skill set is not a 4th line skill set. He should be playing in the middle 6 or not at all. I have the utmost confidence in one thing. The Jackets are screwing this up. And one more thing about Lomberg on a personal note. I've been playing hockey since I was a kid. Since high school, I've only worn 2 numbers. Number 12 and number 94. I wore number 12 during the regular high school hockey season because that was Dean Evason's number when he was with the Whalers, and he was my favorite player. And then for all spring and summer hockey, I wore 94 because that was my graduation year. Graduated high school in 94. And it was also Brendan Shanahan's number when he was with the Whalers. And I just thought that was a really cool number. And then since then, for beer league and the tournaments I've played in, I've alternated between 12 and 94. I've been waiting for a jacket to finally wear number 94, and it finally happens. And it's Ryan Lomberg, who also happens to have the first 4 letters of my last name, Lomb. So I should be happy, but I'm not. I'm honestly a little disappointed that he is going to be the first Blue Jacket to wear that number. All right. Also signed as a free agent was Phoenix Copley. I thought it was Copley, but I've heard it pronounced Copley, so I'm going to go with that. He had a few flashes in the NHL, but he tops out as a backup or AHL starter, in my opinion. And I think the Jackets signed him as a replacement for Fedotov. As it stands right now, the Jackets will be running back Elvis Merzlikins as Jet Greaves' backup this year. I just don't get this either. Elvis has needed a change of scenery basically since he signed his last contract. Surely this is there is someone out there who would take a flyer on him. But once again, Don Waddell has failed to make a move. Or buy him out. Okay? I mean, that could have been a possibility as well. Elvis should not be on this team this coming season. But at this point, it sure seems like he will be, which is stupid in my opinion. But back to Copley, he has a good attitude, and he evidently lived in Ohio until he was like 7 years old and has said all the right things. So I truly hope it works out for him and the Monsters this season. All right, moving on. This is a G-rated, maybe PG-rated podcast. So I'm going to use a nicer word than I really want to use here. Screw you, Philadelphia Flyers. Screw you, Danny Briere. And you all know why I am saying that. Briere and the Flyers signed Leo Carlsson to an offer sheet for an AAV of $18 million per season, making him the highest paid player in the NHL. Making him the highest paid player in NHL history. Leo Carlsson, who has played just 3 pro seasons and whose personal best point total is 67 points. Leo Carlsson, who has never scored 30 goals in a season. Close, 29, but still. Leo Carlsson is a darn good player and projects to be a superstar. But right now, he is on the cusp. And now he is the highest paid player in NHL history because the Flyers signed him to that offer sheet. And the Anaheim Ducks matched it. I think this whole situation was crazy. I don't think Carlsson is worth that much money yet. He is certainly not highest paid player in the NHL caliber yet. But what angers me the most is how it affects the rest of the league and the Jackets. I'm not complaining about the fact that an offer sheet was used. That's a rule, and the Flyers were just doing something that they are legally allowed to do. But that amount? $18 million a year? Crazy. That changes everything around the league, including with the Blue Jackets. Adam Fantilli is an up-and-coming player. Adam Fantilli is a restricted free agent, just like Leo Carlsson. Adam Fantilli was drafted one place after Leo Carlsson. Adam Fantilli has a similar stat line to Leo Carlsson. What does that do to his contract talks? I imagine it makes him want more money. And I won't pretend to understand contracts or be a good estimator as to what a player is worth. But I was hoping / expecting the Jackets to sign Fantilli to a contract extension, worth, around $10 million AAV. But what is stopping Fantilli's agent from saying, Carlsson got 18 million. Fantilli has similar stats. We want close to the same. I'm honestly worried here. That's almost twice as much as what I was expecting Fantilli to get. The Jackets still have restricted free agents to sign. Jet Greaves and Cole Sillinger. The curveball that, or should I say screwball that the Flyers threw just makes it that much harder for the Jackets to get a deal done with Fantilli and sign their other top two restricted free agents. It is ridiculous, in my opinion. I truly wish Don Waddell would have worked to get something done sooner. Gotten a contract done for around what Demidov signed in Montreal. A reasonable contract. And maybe Don did try, okay? But, maybe Fantilli refused to budge until he saw what Carlsson and Bedard got. That is quite likely, to be honest. But now, this offer sheet has changed everything. And what I was really fearful of was that the Ducks matched, which they did. I feared that Philadelphia would turn around and just offer the same thing to Adam Fantilli. Because then what would the Jackets have done? I would assume they would have matched it, but then that would just mess up other things. Would they even have been able to sign Greaves and Sillinger? Who knows? It made me kind of think of, about a star player's mentality here when it comes to contracts. It's something I can't understand and probably never will, because I will most likely never be a millionaire. First of all, as I said earlier, players want two things. They want to win and they want to be paid. But don't more of them realize that by eating up so much of a team's salary cap, that prevents their GM from signing other contracts that would help them win? I mean, the Carlsson thing surely hampers the Ducks now, who have other players they need to sign. Are players that selfish? Or just not very smart? I mean, maybe they really just don't care as much as as they say, or as much as I thought they did about winning. Eating up more salary cap prevents your GM from acquiring other significant pieces to form a team capable of winning a Stanley Cup. So I don't understand it from that perspective. I also don't understand the greed part of it, okay? What makes $18 million so much more enticing than $15 million or $12 million? What can a player not afford if they accept a $10 million contract instead of a $15 million contract? I'm not rich, so I guess that is what is preventing me from seeing this clearly. I feel like I make a pretty good living as a teacher, and my wife works as well. We have a decent home, decent vehicles, decent insurance, and I'm genuinely happy with my life. If I had more money, would I want a bigger house? Sure, maybe. And would I want a Ford Mustang convertible? Oh, absolutely. And would I want to buy my family cars and homes and make sure that they are set up comfortably for life? Of course I would. But I feel like these athletes can do all that. They can live happy lives and afford all these luxuries, all the ones that they want, while also securing their family's financial stability without these unheard of contracts. You are a millionaire making more money than most of your fans will ever see in their lives. And you make all your money playing a game, a sport that you love. And that's not good enough? Now, I guess I can say that about any CEO, millionaire, or billionaire out there. But this is a hockey podcast, so I'm going to keep my commentary confined to hockey. Adam Fantilli, I hope you are smart enough to recognize that you are this team's best hope for a superstar. And I hope you realize that you are going to be rich with your next contract. You will have more money than you know what to do with. But you also have the ability to be reasonable with your contract request so that it doesn't put your team at a huge disadvantage. So that it doesn't prevent your general manager from going out and getting you help to help you achieve your goal of winning a Stanley Cup. Get paid, okay? Do it. You deserve it, and I am not arguing that. But I swear, if your agent is demanding close to what Leo got, a huge overpay, then I'm going to lose some respect for you. All right, that was my big soapbox segment of the episode, I guess. Moving on to other stuff. Eric Goodbranson signed a 1-year contract to return to the Blue Jackets next season. Once I heard it was signed, I had one word for it. Why? I just don't understand this signing. Yet another 30-plus-year-old player, often injured, slow. Some fans describe him as a pylon. And you bring him back? I am not happy with this signing at all. Basically, this means that Don Waddell is happy trotting out the exact same defensive unit as last season. The team obviously needs to improve to get to the playoffs. They've just missed the last 2 seasons. They need to improve. And you go out and basically say, our defense is fine the way it is. I thought Don would upgrade the defense with another signing, another trade, I don't know. And if that failed, I figured he would see what someone like Corson Kuhlmans can do. See if he had a future with the team. But nope. Waddell had other plans to bring in a slow, mid-30s defenseman who is hurt more often than not. I think it is clear now, surely you listeners have figured it out already, that I have lost all faith in Don Waddell. I gave the guy the benefit of the doubt, but this summer has soured me on him mightily. Everyone and their brother knows the Jackets need to improve to get to the playoffs again next season. Everyone expected a big move or two this summer. Don has done the exact opposite. He has swapped out one 30-plus-year-old forward for another similar player who's also 30-plus years old. Brought in a 31-year-old fourth-line grinder and re-signed their biggest, slowest, most injured defenseman. What the heck are you doing, Don Waddell? After supposedly swinging and missing last summer on a top 6 forward, this summer was supposed to be the redemption. This was supposed to be the offseason where Jackets fans could regain some hope for the future of this franchise and get excited again. Instead, we have experienced one of the darkest, dreariest summers in memory. We have our best players wanting to leave. We have unheard of contract demands affecting our team. We have 2 RFA players going to arbitration, Cole Sillinger and Jet Greaves. And we have basically the same exact team as last season. And last season's team was not good enough. So how is this season's team going to be good enough? Well, Waddell seems to be counting on several things. He is counting on Kent Johnson, Dmitry Voronkov, and Sean Monahan to all have bounce-back seasons. He's counting on Damon Severson to show that last season wasn't a fluke and that he can be Zach Werenski's blue line partner. He is counting on Adam Fantilli signing and then taking another step forward in his development. He's also counting on Kirill Marchenko to step forward, or at least maintain his approximate 30-goal output. He's counting on Connor Garland to prove that his poor showing at the end of the season after they acquired him was an anomaly. He's counting on the locker room to gel properly after all these things that have transpired this summer. He's counting on there not to be bad blood. And he's counting on Rick Bowness to play. Well, he's counting on Rick Bowness to get his team to play the way they did when he first arrived for the entire season rather than just fall apart in the last few weeks. That, my friends, is a lot to count on. He must have a lot more faith in this team than I do, because right now I see Don Waddell as a failure. He is failing this franchise right now. He needs to be fired, but he won't be. And he better not give us that nonsense that, oh, I tried to make a trade for a top 6 player, but there just weren't any available. He gave us that excuse last summer. Maybe there are trades available, Don. Maybe you're just not doing your job well enough. That's what good GMs do. They find ways to make deals happen to improve their team. Like I said, I have supported Don Waddell up until this point. Up until this summer, I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt and see where this goes. But I just don't have the faith anymore. Not after this summer's big bowl of nothing. I am more than happy to eat crow if he proves me wrong. I will come right onto the show again in front of this mic, and I will man up, and I will say I was wrong about Don Waddell. But seeing this circus for 26 seasons, I am fresh out of optimism. I was looking forward to being excited about the 26-27 season. But I'm not excited at all. Because I think we're going to be in for yet another season of frustration. Again, hoping that I am wrong. And I have been wrong before. I mean, the team could have at least come out with some new, fresh jerseys. That's at least something to be excited about. Because I had predicted that that this would be the summer that the Jackets would rebrand or come out with some updates to their jerseys. But we got nothing. Same old jerseys, same old Jackets. And that's what I'm going to leave you with today. I wish I could end on a more positive note, but this has been a disappointing summer so far as a diehard Jackets fan. I mean, for the first time, okay, I will admit this, okay, for the first time since I have been a Jackets fan, it actually crossed my mind. Just crossed my mind, okay? Not really seriously considered. Just crossed my mind to jump ship and become a fan of another team. I won't do that. I can't do that. I'm too invested. But it did cross my mind. And after a quarter of a century of disappointment, it never crossed my mind until now, till this summer. And I think that says a lot. I did remember one other thing. So just real quick, just one other thing of note. Still no news on the Jackets TV coverage this season. I have been on Facebook, on Blue Sky, Reddit, all the outlets, and I have not seen any news yet about how the Jackets plan to have their games televised this season. And honestly, I'm getting a little bit worried. I live about 90 minutes away from Nationwide Arena. I admittedly don't go to many games. I prefer to watch the games at home, but yeah, I'm hoping that there's a way for me to do that this year. All right, if you'd like to chime in, please send me your thoughts, opinions, questions, suggestions. Please feel free to do it. Or if you just want to chat about the Jackets, I'm always up to talk Jackets to pass the time of this off season. And as they always say, misery loves company. So happy to talk if you'd like to chat me up somewhere. You can find me on social media like Blue Sky and Instagram at my handle, WhalerJacket, or send me an email at whalerjacket@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to Boom and Gloom. Until next time, I don't want to say it. I'm not in the mood to say it, but I will. Go Jackets.